This is the team. This is the team right here. So,
Meet y'all. I haven't met you guys yet.
yeah, these are the geniuses behind the Salesforce. So great. So yeah, Angelo, we met. What was it? Maybe 2 months ago?
Yeah,
Well,
first week of January.
yeah, first week of January. And because yeah, you were obviously opting in to learn more about what we do, but then yeah, you just dove in right away. You're on basically every Friday sales call, all that. So you're like an awesome client going through the program.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to give us, let's start with like a high level overview of how it's been from the beginning until now as going through the proper 3 month coaching with our team.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I'll start right from the beginning, just getting on the call with you. I think I came onto that call thinking that like all I was coming on here for was to like have somebody help me like understand like social media and marketing and how to like get my message more clarified, how to improve my content, how to like get more followers, right? That's what I thought that that was all I was coming in for. And then kind of like the nice surprise that you guys dropped there on the call is that like, oh no, this is a whole lot more. This is like there's the sales support, there's the offer support, like
Mhm.
there's a lot more to it than what I realized I was getting myself into, which I think was the reason for me being on the call with you, Mitch. That was like, oh, this is more, and you guys teach that, right? Like I hear you guys teach that. It's like offer more than the person is even expecting, and that's like, okay, here's all the stuff I didn't know I needed. So that was exciting, and I was like, okay, that made me like a hell yes to stepping into it, even though it was like a little bit nerve-wracking to kind of commit to it. But on the sales calls that I've like on the review calls that I've had with you, Mitch, it's been really interesting because that's the type of person I am, that like when I get a hell yes, like I don't hesitate. And so I might be like an easy person to sell to, but I'm also like a straight up being like, no, I don't want this. Like I'm not even gonna spend my time on it. So it's been a learning on how to in the sale, at least in the sales process, how to work with people that are like, oh, this is like feels great, but like I'm not ready to do it, like to work with people there. So that's been helpful in me learning that. So anyway, back to that. Once I came in and I like saw the amount of content that was in the course, in the classroom section of school, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, this is a lot. Like it's exciting that it's a lot, and then I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. I began with the like start here stuff and just kind of started chipping away, but I think since I am like a very proactive person, like when I commit to something, I'm all in. That maybe I kind of got lost. I started trying to do too many things at once, and that's where I think the coach was is like the best resource for me. It was like once I got on that onboarding call, and it's like, okay, let's just focus on one, two, three. Focus on that. Then next week, okay, let's see where we're at with those. Okay, let's add one or two more things. And so now it's been like a refinement process where at first like I was like sprinting out of the gate, and it was kind of like, okay, slow down, focus on this, get really good at that. Now let's start adding, like, dripping a little bit more over and over again. And that's clear. It's like, with some online courses, there's like the drip method, and then with some other online courses, it's like, hey, just full water hose. And that's kind of what I think you guys are offering. It's like, here's all the calls you can come to, here's all the classroom content, just go for it. But then I think it's really good to have the coaches focus on which aspects of the course each client needs. And for me, that was kind of clear because I came in with like a brand new offering, brand new program, brand new social media account. Like I was like essentially at zero, starting from zero. And so Peyton's my coach. At one point, when she asked me, like, kind of like getting a little feedback from me in terms of like, would you recommend this to other people, this program? And my response to her was like, well, it really depends, like, where they're at in their process and like what it is that they're trying to do. I think for where I was at, this like very initial program, like very initial start of everything I was doing, what you guys have to offer is like a ton. And so I would say yes. For people like my wife's been in business in her own business for 10 years, and she has like, you know, a whole different system that she runs. For her, would I recommend this to her? I don't know, because I don't know what it would be like for somebody who's at like a much higher level in business to come in, because a lot of the stuff you guys have is quite introductory, and I'm sure there's like advanced stuff you guys have too. I'm not there to like know what that is yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we could
I'll stop
certainly
there.
have that conversation now if you'd like.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm excited to have that conversation in like 3 months where I'm like, okay, it's like, because I know you guys do like building a team and doing all that stuff. It's like, and I'm not there yet, but I hope that, I was really excited once I kind of put in my numbers for this, like, winning an extra month thing. And I had zero expectations that I was going to be close because it's like my numbers are tiny, right? It's like, yeah, I went from zero to something, which is huge. But once Peyton messaged me and was like, "Hey, it looks like you're winning on this like poll thing," I was like, "What?" And I went in there and I saw I had like two more votes than the next person. I'm like, "Screw it! I'm gonna message everybody I've been on the calls with and be like, hey, will you vote for me so I can get this free month? Because I could really use it." And that's like exactly what I was saying. It's like once I commit to something, I'm like, "Hey, I could use this free month." At the end of 4 months, I want to have this thing be at a point where like, okay, let's talk about what it looks like to invest in like having somebody do sales call, invest in somebody to have to do like, managing some other aspects. But yeah, so I'll pause
Right
there. I don't
on.
know, questions
Yeah,
or
no, that's good. There's just a couple other questions too. Is like, what have you noticed in terms of the milestones from coming in to then where you first started to get that grasp of like, oh, like shit, this is cool. It's coming together. Like, what were those moments you noticed throughout?
yeah.
That'd be cool to hear.
Yeah, I think, I think the biggest milestones was like getting my first sales call, like actually like reaching out to somebody in DMs and like actually having them like come back to me and then saying, me being like, "Hey, do you want to get on a call to talk about this?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do that." I was like, holy crap, like what? Like, I had read the like, the Hormozy books and like kind of like looked at it in my, it's clear like what you guys are saying is not anything drastically different than what other people are saying. Like it's a common tactic. What's helpful in being in this program is that like, oh, now I have somebody that's kind of pushing me a little bit to do the things that are uncomfortable that I otherwise I wouldn't be DMing people and asking them, maybe I have like some self-doubt that I'm like, well, they don't want to talk to me. They're just, and then the reality is like, oh no, they do. And then once I got the first person to actually sign up to work with me, I was like, wow, okay, this is working, And so I was talking to Peyton just yesterday or the day before, and I was like, the other milestone, so that was a big milestone. The other milestone I do is like creating content that I otherwise wouldn't be creating by myself. Like I wouldn't like like I wouldn't think about it. Like I was like, this is the type of content I'm comfortable with and I like creating. So let me just do that, a bunch of that. And then with the coaches and even coming on the calls with like Veronica and Svetlana being like, here's what's like working for a lot of other people. Like go next week, make 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 of these types and let's see what happens. And I otherwise like wouldn't ever do that. And so I was talking to Peyton just yesterday. And I was like, hey, at this point, like I'm willing to like go, go, go. And it's like my ask for you as my coach is to like just push me a little bit further into like stuff that I wouldn't be doing. And then let's see what happens. And I'll tell her, I was like, and if at some point I tell you no, because this feels like not in alignment with who I am or what I want to do, I was like, if it feels like it should be a yes, you can push me a little bit more on it. And I'll tell you, like, no, this is a no. But it's like in the coaching relationship, and I coach people too in a very different realm. But like I know that's my role is to push people into their discomfort, into their edge, to get them to try something that they otherwise wouldn't try by themselves. And so that's where I think being in this program has helped me because it's like, I posted in the school group, I was like, I created my first like meme reel. And I'm like, never in 1,000 years would I think that I'd be like posting memes on my social media. And I did. And I was like, like I got past that edge. And now it's like, okay, cool. Like I can throw that in my rotation of like, I don't feel weird doing it. It's kind of fun. So
Uh,
that's been a huge, huge milestone too. It's just like getting more into that uncomfortable that I doing things I wouldn't do on my own if I wasn't in like a program.
yeah, yeah, right on. Okay, thank you for that. One other question from me, and then I'll open the floor here is like what would you say to people who just joined the coaching? So like a brand newcomer who just came in, or someone who's like right in that process of like, okay, I'm joining the organic sales blueprint, I'm doing the thing. What would you say to them when they're making their first steps?
Yeah, I would say like one, for me, it's been a big thing. It's like trust the process and trust the timing that it takes. Because it's like, okay, I've been in this program now for a month now, right? Since I would say like my first call. And it's like, at the end, you guys talk about it's like having the realistic expectations of what organic growth looks like, you know? It's like, by now, would I want to be at 10,000 followers? Like, yes, but it's like, that's not realistic. So one, like trust the process, know that it'll take time, and then like just keep taking the right next step and like step into that discomfort. Cause it's like, I'm on calls, I'll sit in calls with like Veronica and Svetlana, and I hear some of the other clients being like, wow, man, I don't know. I don't have time to make all these reels and I don't know this. And I'm just like, well, this is me being like, well, why the hell are you in here? Right. It's like, and that's each person's experience, right? Like that guy's edge is like, he can't commit time to make the stuff. That was not my edge. My edge was like something else. But really, as with any coaching, like lean into the edge of like, oh, I can't do this, and be like, well, do you want to, um, and you can, like, there's support here to do those things. So yeah, just trust it, take one step at a time. Like, like the overwhelm was real when I saw the amount of like information that was out there, and be like, just, trust that it's like, okay, I got 3 months to go through all this stuff, and then just show up to the calls. Show up to, even if you don't have any questions or anything, just listening to other people's questions will spark something. Like, like before I even had my onboarding call, I had jumped on like 3 calls already, not because I even knew what the heck was going on, but just like to listen and to hear other people's experience and see people who were 2 months ahead of me. And, I think that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I got a lot out of that. I'll share in a minute what I got from it, but Sean, Ashton, Nancy, any questions y'all want to ask or anything you see?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously coming onto the call, your expectation was, maybe a little bit of help or a bit of support. But what made you buy? What was that moment in the call where you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Just thinking back on the call, I know Mitch, I don't know, you probably take so many of these calls, but it's like I came onto the call being like, I'm just here to like get some information. I'm not here to like
You
make
even told me that. I was like, all right, one of these.
I was just like, because I did like, probably in like 4 days, I have another call booked with like another program. Like sometimes I'm like a heady dude, and I will like and like, I'll spend 2 hours looking to buy something on Amazon that should take me 2 minutes. Um, but I think it was like, what got me to say yes? For me, like honestly, once we got to like I had an idea of what my guess what the pricing would be, and I was pretty close. That wasn't the shocker. It was like once we got to the point of making the decision, like I felt like my gut just like wrench, and that for me is like a feeling of like, okay, this is uncomfortable. Um, and I've done enough work myself to know that like when I feel that, like, okay, what is this telling me? Like, is it telling me like this is a fuck no, walk away, or is it telling me like this is really uncomfortable, but like, am I ready to lean into this discomfort? Um, and so a lot of people, and that's what I face when I'm doing sales call with people. And so I have to like talk them through that, because a lot of people who don't understand what that feeling means, it's like nerves, and I just want to back off because I don't want to feel it. And so it's like, I think what did it for me was just like coming to the realization that it's like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but this may be exactly what I need if I am really committed to this business that I'm trying to create. Like I need this, and I can like step away and just kind of like try and figure out on my own, which I know I'm a capable guy, but it's like, how much longer is that going to take me, and how much more stressful is that going to be for me? That I think like weighing those two options and being like, okay, either and it's common, it's nothing, it's like a lot of what you've said, Mitch, on the sales call reviews is like, I can either do something about it and like take action, or I can just like go back and keep trying to figure out my own, and then get on the next sales call with another program that's just going to tell me the exact same thing, and I'm going to feel the exact same way. Or, and like, honestly, and I told Mitch this, I was like, there was just something like comforting about Mitch. Like he seemed like I could relate to him. Like he seemed
Yeah.
honest. He didn't seem
Yeah.
like sleazy. I didn't feel like he was pushing me in any way that I didn't want to be pushed.
Mm,
Uh, he was just kind of like showing me what could be possible. So I think those are really important. And I try and like do that when I talk to people on sales calls too. It's like, listen, I'm not here to
mm,
push you do anything you don't want, but this is my job. My job is to like get you to, as a coach, right? I don't know about a salesperson, but as a coach, my job is to step you a little further into that discomfort to see
mm.
what's possible on the other side.
And
Um,
do you know, like, do you, do you know which part of the call it was where you were like, yeah, this makes absolute sense? Was it the pitch, or was it the objection handling, or was it something discovery? But something shifted you, and I just want to know what it was, if
I
you
think
remember.
for me, what shifted was when I like saw how what I kind of touched on earlier is like how much more you guys were offering than just a social media, how to grow on Instagram. Once
Right.
I realized like, oh, this is actually like a full business experience that involves support with sales, involves support with like landing pages and pitch. Like
Hmm.
once I saw that, that really was just like, oh man, there's more here that I had no idea I needed. You know, and
Mm,
that, I know that's a piece in the
mm,
sales call process too. I think that for me, because there was so much that I was like, oh, if I just hire somebody to help me grow on Instagram, then like who's going to help me with sales calls? Who's going to help me with actually landing leads and clients? And it's just like, this is way more than I thought it was. So that was, I
yeah.
think, the biggest part.
And you mentioned another objection there because you had other calls lined up to speak to other people. What
Yeah.
stopped you from doing that and just made you commit?
Um, I I think just like that's a for me, I think it was, sometimes like it's just the type of person I am. Once I realized that, like, you know what, I have to do this. Like, if I just delay, like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired
Hmm.
of delaying. And for me, like, once I make a decision, like, I take action. So that's just who I am.
Mm,
It's how I am. I was telling my wife, like, I've been on like calls for programs before, and I'm always I'm the easy guy who not like I'm a pushover, but once I'm like, this is a yes, I'm not going to overthink it. Let's go.
right.
That's just my personality. Um, but once I saw the value and once I saw like the price point was about where I thought it was going to be and it wasn't anything ridiculous, like to my budget, I was like,
Mm,
okay, I'm in. And so I
hmm.
just went.
And did you give Mitch partner objection or as well, or are you the type of guy that can make decisions on his own?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I did not.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like, I told my wife that I was getting on this call and she's excited for me to kind of do everything. But it's like, I know that this is like my business. I know that like what I'm spending and is from, stuff that's like focused
Yeah.
on my business. She has hers and,
Yeah.
this is more of a business thing. If it
Mm,
was like a personal thing, maybe there would be
hmm.
that. But no, I didn't have any partner
Yeah.
objections.
And I think the final one for me is like I'm an honest believer in like sales is like a confidence game. And so it's like if you have absolute confidence and belief in us and what we do, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so was there anything, and I'm sorry I'm interrogating you because you don't often get the chance to do this, but like was there any part of the call where you just felt absolutely clearly confident that like we were the solution for you?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know if there was ever like a like crystal clear moment where I'm like, these are the guys, it's gonna happen. Like even at the end of the call, like I was saying, like there was still like that nerves of like, I don't know, I'm uncertain, but it's more of a yes than it is a no. And so I'm just gonna trust that. And it's like, what I talked with my clients on a lot of things when I'm talking is like, I'm saying there's always going to be a voice that's telling you like, now's not the right time. This isn't the right thing. I don't know. But it's like, is the other voice that's like telling you like, no, like fucking do this? Is that voice like more trustable and louder than the other voice? And it's like, can you just listen to that voice and just
Mm,
put that other voice behind?
hmm.
Um, I don't think there was ever any like kind of like jumping for joy, like, thank goodness I found these guys, they're gonna do it, it's gonna be great. It's like, when there's any sort of like financial transaction involved, there's always gonna be a little voice being like, "Ugh,
100%.
right thing."
100%. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, we work really, really, really hard as a team to kind of like work this process to a point where we can gain that trust and that confidence and that belief in what we do. And that's the shift that we make. You know, and 99% of the people that come on the calls are just like you and looking for information. You know, they're not coming prepared to make a decision. But we work very, very hard on building that trust, building that confidence, and building that like belief. And I think that's one of the biggest shifters that we make on calls as a team. But we're not cheesy salesy. We believe in what we do with such a high level of conviction that I kind of feel that rubs off on the client during the call. And it's like you said, it's not one moment, it's a series of moments throughout the call. The culmination is, yeah, this is exactly right for me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you answering those questions, Devon, because you very rarely get a chance like that to really kind of diagnose the process that we kind of go through and the hard work that we all put into it to kind of make it work. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me and just personally, my experience is like any sales call where they're pushing too hard on the like, well, if you don't work with us, like, you know, like kind of like looking at the negatives, right? It's like if it's too much on that, it'll kind of be like, well, this feels uncomfortable. Whereas
Yeah.
like, oh, here's like what's possible, right? I think that's more, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know, that's more
100%.
enticing. That's more like, okay, cool. This is
Yeah.
a possibility for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, like I said, with me, it's like if I'm in, I'm all in. So I'm like, I'm gonna the other thing to tell new clients is like, hey, squeeze absolutely everything you can out of your time here. You know, it's like I'm on almost every call I can make. I'm on every call I can make. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and sometimes I need to prioritize other things. But it's like I'm messaging with my coach almost daily, right? And that's like me taking the initiative instead of expecting somebody else to do it for me. So that's more
Yeah.
like a pep talk, kind of like, come on.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
cool.
Thank you.
It's like I want to my goal. I want to leave this program with being one of these people that you guys could be like, oh my God, this guy showed up with 200 followers and now he's at like 200,000, right? Like I don't know if that's true, but it's like I want that. Like not
Yeah.
for you guys, I want that for me, and like then you guys can show that. Like you know, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it.
Thank you. Ashton, Nancy, y'all got anything else? Got a couple minutes here.
I think you and Sean kind of covered what were my major questions, but